all from PwC Acceleration Center, Manila. For Google Apps Script, we have Chris Ian Lim, a manager of Deals Digital Services with 16 years of experience in software and solution development and design. Justin Earon Pabon, a senior analyst of the Deals Digital Services with 6 years in the software industry. And finally, we have April Gale Guevarra, an analyst of the Deals Digital Services with 3 years of experience involving web development and on-premise software development.
So let's start off with an introduction on what is Google Apps Script. So I just want to go around and ask, does anyone here have a background in Google Apps Script, already know how to automate Google Apps Script? So if you do, kindly react with a haha crying emoji. Oh, sorry, it's called joy apparently. Haha cry emoji. If you already have any experience with Google Apps Script, so that I just wanted to gauge the people who are here. Okay, I'm seeing two. That's cool. I hope that I can teach you a bit more for Google Apps Script. There are things that you don't really know. So the rest are beginners. So I'll try to take this slow and let's work to making things more automated. Okay, so let's start off with Google Apps Script in a nutshell. What is Google Apps Script? So Google Apps Script is a platform that allows you to develop scripts and automate or integrate GApp suites. So for this one, this actually covers the whole array of things, meaning it covers your calendar, your Gmail, your Drive, your Forms, your Word, your PowerPoint. You can even do that for Google Apps Script. So there's my hope is if once we go here, you'll be more enticed to work with this types of automation, and then there's a whole library and a whole array of things that you can do on their website for the Google Apps Script. So in a world of self-learning and information overload, there's always a way to check out what else is out there. So emphasis on this one on develop. So we won't be deploying things yet. That's a completely different story when we want to go or release to the public what we're doing. The reason is Google is blocking or Google is controlling how much of this automation that you can do and release it to the public and make it public. So what you can do, of course, is internally. Meaning if you're just doing it with friends or maybe in your offices, if you're using Google. So as long as your administrator allows it, you can do it. But releasing it to the public is a completely different story. Since the reason being here is that Google has already a lot of emails and a lot of information, and they don't want anyone to just go in and release some random application or some random product to the public. Right. So what can it do? Again, I discussed it before. So you can automate your calendar events, emails, Drive, sheet creation, and all of those and all of the other cool things that you want. Okay. So let's start off with the goal. I would always like to start off with the goal on what we want to do for this workshop. So what are we building? So this is a very common use case. Suppose you are hosting an event and you would like to automate whenever a user answers your form or registers for your form, you automatically send them an email. Seems simple enough, right? You don't want to go in and then do a maybe a email blast. Of course, you can easily just do that if you want to. You also don't want to check every now and then what is there a new user who signed up, or is there someone who signed up for my event, and then you send them the promotions from there. You want it to be automated and then send it to whoever answered the forms that you created. Okay. So simple use case, simple enough. Let's start off with that. All right. So this is what the architecture of what we'll be doing. So, or how things will interact. So as you can see, the main thing for this one will be your Google Apps script. On the first one, the user experience that we would want to do is to create a Google form and then trigger a script to automatically activate or automatically check who answered that specific form. And then what we'll do is we'll get the files from our G drive and then move it to or send it via an email, which the user will then receive. Okay. So I want you now to actually open your Google Drive. So I'll give you a few minutes to do that. So just open your Google Drive from there. Oops. Yeah. So just open your Google Drive just to make sure that you can follow along later. Okay. So if that's all good, just put a clap on the React button. Okay, awesome. Easy opening your Google Drive. Anyway, so I'll start off with introducing how you can introduce or create a Google Apps script. I'm pretty sure none of us are unfamiliar with Google Drives and spreadsheets and Word. So there is another thing that is there hiding at the bottom of your create new file, which is the Google Apps scripts. And that is one way where you can create your Google Apps script. The other one is to automatically add it to the spreadsheet, the Word document, the PowerPoint, the form that you're creating. We'll be tackling that later on. So for now, let's do the first one. Okay. So in your Google Drive, right click anywhere, go to the form. Sorry, not the form, the more. So just below forms, there is more, and then press on Google Apps Script. It should show you this thing right here. Okay, I'll just wait. Let's react a thumbs up if you have already done that part to make sure everyone is okay. Awesome. Okay, so for if any of you are also from PwC, because I know that and you're using your work laptop for some reason, there's a special mnemonics that you have to add here, so that you're allowed to do it on your work laptops. If you're not, you can name it whatever you want. So just copy what I'm gonna type. Okay. So please name it that if you're there, because I know some of you are participating also. So if you're someone who isn't, just name it whatever you want. Okay. Okay. So let's discuss first what I'm seeing here or what this whole thing is about. Okay. So in the Google Apps script, you'll see a workspace like this. So as you can see, there's a lot of things going on. So you might be confused on what's happening. Oh no, what am I supposed to do here? So let's break that down. What you're seeing is an IDE, an integrated development environment. So what this does is if you want to read all of that, or to simply put, it's where you write code so it does things. So simple enough. So if you're familiar with programming languages, it also hosts your compiler and it automatically reads your code. Okay, if you just want to get technical about it, but if you just want to know what it does, you write code there, it does stuff. Okay, and then let's go to each one on what it does. So on the top left, you'll see there a file or files. This is a simple file that where it's automatically created by Google. This is you can just imagine it like a notepad or a text file, or if you're also familiar with any programming languages, a specific JS file or TS file or Java file that you're trying to edit. So that's number one. It's just a list of files there. So you can create multiple files there, and then if you want to separate your code, for example, okay, on the on middle middle part is number two, which is the save button. So if you want to run your code, you would need to save it first, or if you want to save, if just like in uh, Google Drives or Google Spreadsheets, you would want to save your work before moving out or doing something. So that's the button for you, or just like any normal Microsoft application, it's Control S. And then the run function is the beside it, right beside it is the run function. So the run function is what what you press to automatically run the code. Or if you say you're done, let's run the code. That's what you press. Next to it is the debug. The debug is more of if there's something wrong with your code, and you want to check out, why is my code not working? It's running properly, but it's not working. Okay. Next one is the function that you want to run. So on number 5, the function that you want to run, I'll show you more on that later, what it does. And then number 6 is where you write your code. So that's where the magic happens. That's where all of the things that you need to write goes. And the last one is the logs of the functions that you ran. Okay. So the logs tell you where you messed up, where you went wrong, or if it successfully ran the code. So what you're seeing now is an example of a successful run. Okay. All right. So let's go back first to your IDE. If you type any random stuff here and then save it, and then and save it and then run. This is taking long. Okay, so this is the type where it's where there's an error, it tells you what line of code errors out. So this is just a helpful hint for later. If your code is not working and I'm demoing something, just the first thing that you would like to check if where your code messed up. So it's telling me here that it's on, how you read this is this file code.gs right here, line number 2. Okay, so it means that it messes up here. So it only shows you the first mess up you did, and this is the first mess up that I did. Okay, I just wanted to show you that for later. Also, if you do see a random red squiggly line, that means you typed something wrong, or your typing is still incomplete, or it's still waiting for something. If you do encounter that, please tell me, or so we can double check on what's happening. Okay, let's go back to our presentation. Okay, so later on, is my screen dark? Or can you see my presentation? I'm seeing like my
Earon, I
screen
can
is
see it.
dark. Okay, awesome. So sorry, when we run the application, you'll see this a lot. Authorization required. So every time you add some new type of application, like for example, if you're adding Gmail, Google Drive, etc., the what will happen is it will ask you for authorization. So please just accept that, and then make sure also that your pop-ups are not blocked. I know that some of you have a really high security or on your browser, so you might not be able to see the automatic request. On your the top right of your browser will show you that the pop-ups are being blocked. Just make sure that you allow the pop-ups from Google Apps Script, just for you to follow the application. Also, if you do see a go back to safety tag, the reason for this one, and don't be scared if you do see it while you're running an application, is because you're allowing access to your email um, you're allowing the Google Apps Script to do things on your Google Drive or email, for example, and that's usually considered a warning for Google, because that would mean that you're giving a bot access to what your emails and what your drives can do. However, since you're the one actually doing the app script, that's okay. So you'll probably see that, and then just make sure you click proceed, or even though you or you don't press go back to safety. It's just a warning. So I don't want you to be shocked when you see that. I'm not trying to we're not, no one is trying to hack you. No one is trying to get information from you. It just means it's just safety for Google, for what Google installed, just to make sure that no one gets accidentally hacked. Okay, so just please make sure of that, because some of you might have a lot of high permissions for your drives and Gmail, and it will request that for your application. Okay, so I just wanted you to warn you about that. Okay, so just a quick before we go to the actual code, I wanted to ask if you were actually listening, can anyone tell me what is the IDE for, or what does IDE stand for? Just chat your answers on the chat. Huh. Okay, awesome, awesome. So it stands for Integrated Development Environment, and the short use for it is if there's anybody you want to write code and make it do things, that's where you go. All right. Okay, let's go first through some basics that I would like to talk to you about. If you have zero background in programming, uh, I would like to go through this first. This is not a extensive review. However, it should cover the things that you need for our Google Apps Script workshop. Okay, so why do we need to do this? It's mainly just because this is a jumping off point. So if you do want to explore more technologies or explore more what Google Apps Script can do in your day-to-day lives, of course you can do it better if your basics are okay. Okay, so here we'll be identify how to write Google Apps Script code, and then explain the basic concepts of JavaScript, which will be the programming language that we will be using. Okay, so I wanted to discuss something called the code flow. The code flow in all programming languages is how code is read and how code is executed. So what this means is if something is written before it's on top or at the start, it gets executed first. You don't want your I mean, for all, this is a general rule in all programming languages, that the first one gets read first, and then the second one is what's read after. So for example, in here in our code flow, it's a simple function for creating a spreadsheet. So if it's a simple code that wants to create a spreadsheet. So it reads this one first, which the effect is this one, where it creates a spreadsheet. Excuse me. which it creates a spreadsheet on your Google Drive. So that's what that will what it will be executed first, and then the next one is what is then executed. So it will create a random hello world cell in the first cell of your spreadsheet that you created. So I'll discuss more on how that works, on why that works for later on. Okay. So this is just the basics of the code flow. Just make sure that everything on top goes first, and then and then below it goes second. Just just like writing any paragraph, cohesive paragraph, you go with intro first before conclusion. You don't start with in conclusion. Okay. So just that simple. Next one, programming languages. So in programming, there are a ton of programming languages. If some of you have background in programming, I'm pretty sure you know some of the logos that I'm flashing right now. So these are the one of the most common programming languages: Python, Java, C Sharp, C++, etc. And then most programming languages evolve to solve a certain kind of problem. What this means is that they are there's a lot of programming languages, but some of them have specialties on what it caters to or what it's good at, and what the web or what is the best or usually the most famous for web is JavaScript. That's why we'll be using JavaScript for our workshop today. Okay, next one is the syntax. In all languages, no matter where you go, there's a thing called grammar. Uh, it's the same for programming languages. It's for syntax, you have to do or have to write in a certain way to make sure that the machine or the compiler can properly understand what you've written. This means that if if I'm speaking here, for example, in Mandarin, not all people will understand me. So since I'm speaking in Dutch, and I'm pretty sure not a lot of people will understand me. So that's also the same for your programming languages. If your compiler or the environment or the IDE that you're writing on is meant for JavaScript, don't write in Java, don't write in Python, or don't write in English. Write in JavaScript. Okay, that's the whole purpose of the syntax. So syntax are reserved word. There's a different types that you need to remember on syntax. First one is the reserved keywords or the reserved words that have specific purpose. We'll discuss more on this later on. Function, return, var, if, for, and curly braces is how you group your code. Again, we'll be discussing more on that later to help you guys understand it better. And last one is semicolon, which indicates a end of line. All right. So let's skip. If anyone remembers the slide that we just flashed, do you guys know the keywords that we the reserved keywords? Then just chat them on the chat. Yeah, I just flashed it really quick. Okay, so it seems like no one remembers, so I'll move on. Okay, so we'll first discuss handling files. Remember the whole project that we were about to do. Okay, so we'll be tackling Google Apps scripts and Google Drives for this one. So make sure that you have your Google Drive has enough space and you're not maxed out. I'm pretty sure everyone has space on their Google Drive. It's like a 15 gigabyte storage anyway. Okay, so what we need to learn for this one, so we'll be tackling different concepts of programming and then how you can apply them to the to Google Apps script. Okay, so first is what is var and what are file IDs in Google Drives. Okay, so the var, what is the var? The var is a common Filipino drink, usually done or on pastimes. Just kidding. So the var is a keyword, reserved keyword for JavaScript. It is used to declare a variable, or if you're of course familiar with math, of this is its complete name is variable. Uh, it it can hold just like the concept of variable in math. It can hold anything. It can hold an apple, an orange, etc. It can hold numbers. It can hold strings. It can hold letters. It can hold anything for this one. So this variable can be reused in any part of your code. This just makes it easier so that you don't, for example, if for example you're trying to access a file, you don't rewrite accessing the file over and over and over and over again. This just makes it easier for you to access. Okay, so let's just go real quickly on how the var keyword is done in JavaScript. So how you declare it is you type var, which is a reserved keyword, and then you type in the variable name. Just make it as descriptive as possible. So for example, if it's an apple, name it an apple. Don't name it an orange. Don't confuse yourself. The next one is the actual value or the data that you're trying to um, represent on your variable name. So if you type in an apple, make sure that the data that you're inputting is an apple. Or if you type in a number, for example, or a value, make sure that the data that you're trying to put in is represented properly. And this is just a convention. You can, of course, not follow it, but it's just to make it cleaner. Do camel casing. Okay? Camel casing is just instead of using spaces to denote the word, make sure that the first letter of the word is capitalized. Okay. Next one, what I want to discuss is the anatomy of a URL Google Drive. I want, for example, let's go here to our files. So I have this dummy PDF here. So this, after the folders, is considered your Google Drive ID. It's unique to all Google Drive IDs, to all IDs. So Google makes sure of that, and then you can access it. And then this is what you want to always keep in mind when you're trying to access files in Google Drives. This also works for spreadsheets, words, documents, PowerPoint presentations, folders. This is unique. So anything that you see in a Google Drive has this specific ID that you can use. All right. Okay. So if you're editing, for example, a spreadsheet right here, you'll have to take right before the edit between slashes. But if you're just accessing a simple file, it will be something like this for your application. All right. Okay. So let's before we proceed to this, let's actually do that. Go here and go to our app script and make it do things. So let's, for example, work with var. So you don't have to copy it since this won't be part of the app that we'll be creating. So var, for example, first number, and then equals to 1, for example. Then the next one is var, second number equals to 2. Okay. And then I'll just put, remember that what I said before on debug mode. This is just a way of making the code stop there when you're running on debug mode. And then I'll run it on debug mode rather than on run. This will open a thing called the debugger. As you can see here, now that you can see on the screen here, the local variables that you have, which is on the first number is the value 1, and the second number is the value 2. Okay, so let's end that. If I change it, for example, to the second number before, save it, and then I just press Control S, and then run the debug. As you can see, the values here of your first number and your second number are already different. So that's one thing that we can use or store for variables. Okay, just wanted to show you that example before we proceed to this next concept, which is the dot notation. The dot notation is a way to access something on methods or its properties and methods. What this means is, for example, you have a person and that person can do stuff. If you want to tell that person to do something, you use the dot notation. So if you want that person to punch something, you use the dot notation. Instead of talking to them or talking to this to the data, you use the dot notation, and it will show you or produce to you all the things that it can do. It's, for example, in this example on the Drive app, you can see that you can add file, add folder, continue file iterator, create file, create folder, create a shortcut. You can even delete files by just using this one. Okay. All right. So let's start off with our application. So I want you now to go back to your app script. I'll give you a few minutes if you haven't set up yet before for this one. So just give me a party popper emoji if you're ready. Party popper emoji. So let's just make sure that we are here for your application. Is no one is ready for their on their Google Apps script. Okay, so let's just do the application for this one. So let's start off with how you can access a specific file that you're trying to access on your app. So let's just call the variable a new file. There you go. And then there's a reserved word here that you can access for, or that you can use, which is called Drive app. This allows you access to your Google Drive, and you can already do a lot of things with this Drive app. And then you press remember what we learned on the dot notation, you press dot, and then what you want to do is to get file by ID. Then what we learned before is that this get file by ID, we need to get the ID of the file, or the Google Drive ID of the file. Okay, so we now go to the Google Drive ID, the Google Drive, open it, and then just get this dummy file. And then copy paste it here. Okay. Save it. And then we go here and let's run it on debug mode. Remember last time when there was a value, it shows that the value of the numbers are 1 and 2. But for this one, oops. As you can see, it asks me for permissions because I'm already trying to access the Drive app. So just make sure that you allow that permission. Okay, so as you can see, it already has a file, and this file has a lot of properties with it. There we go. There's a lot of properties in that file. And then let's just end it at that. So what can I do now on this with this file? So what I can do is, of course, first there's a way of, for example, creating copy. Oh, sorry. Drive app, create or copy. What? Did I not get it correctly? Sorry. There's a lot of things that you can do here. So, for example, if you want to get the URL or the thumbnail or the I don't know, the owner or the name of that application or the editor, you can get it there. So, for example, I want to get the date created right here. And then let's just put it in a var called date, or just date created. And I'll run it in debug mode again so we can see the data, what's inside date created. So you can see the value here for date created is already on April 23, 2022. So you can see the details of the file. Now, of course, we don't want to just get data from the file. We want to actually make the file do things. So on the new file, let's try to make copy of the file. And save it, and then we run the code instead of on debug mode. Just approve the permission again. For some of you, there might be a pop-up on top here that you'll see. Please just allow it on the pop-up, and then also there might be way where on below here you'll see that you want access to. Just allow the access, and then don't press go back to safety, but click the link here and then click the go to the application. Oops, I did something wrong on line 6. Access denied on Drive app. So I cannot create file on Drive app. Why won't it let me copy the? Let's just run it again. Oh, sorry. I see. You'll need to specify which folder you would want to put it to. Okay. So let's try to access the folder where we want to create the copy. Specifically here on this demo folder, which is this ID. Oops. Oh, I got the wrong ID for. I'm sorry, I got the wrong ID for the file. It should be here. The link. Oops. So just copy this link for the file. The ID here for the file. I was actually accessing the folder. Interesting. Okay. And then we want to access the folder. So folder equals Drive app, and then get folder by ID. And then just copy the folder ID here. Right. And then let's try to make a copy of that file there. So let's name it testing copying files. And then what we need to put here is the folder that we're trying to copy it to. So save it and then run the project. There, perfect. So in execution now, it is completed. So when we go back to this to our drive, you can see that we've already copied the file here. Okay. So of course we can also instead of just copying the files directly to this folder, there is also a way for us to create a folder and then copy that files there. But before that, I'll give you 2 minutes to copy the code if you would want to. All right. Now let's do the now let's try to create a folder and then copy it there. So what we want to do is say um, bar and then let's create a sample folder or create a folder on the app, on the Drive app. So created folder equals Drive app dot create folder, new folder. Sorry, WiTCon on test folder, and then once we make a copy, and instead copy the file to that create folder. Okay. So let's run that again. If you go to the drive, you can see that it created this new folder here because if you go back to your script, it still has this line of code here that says that creates the testing copy file. And then if I go back at the top of my drive, which is, you'll see that there is this new folder called the WiTCon test folder. And then inside it is the file that you want to create. So if you want to segregate your files or if you want to move around your files, you can also do this. Okay. Okay, so I'll give you again a few minutes to copy the code if you would like to. I'll just delete this since we're not using it. Okay, okay. So that's how an easy way, as you can see, to move around files, copy files. Of course, there's one last thing that you would like to do. For example, if you just want to move a file instead of copying it. So let's delete these files. Oh, let's rename this file. Moved to move file. Okay. And then instead of creating a copy, I'll also get the this file and then move it to the folder that I created a while ago. Copy this ID. Then let's create a new file, var to move file equals drive app get file by ID. There we go. And then let's move it to this folder. So let's rename this folder 2 so that it doesn't get mixed up with the folder that we created. And then let's just name this 2 so it's more obvious on what happens. So let's go the new file that I created here. Oh, no, sorry, this to move file. I'll move it to move to the destination, which is the created folder that I did. Okay, save that and then just run the file. Then if you open to the Google, to your Google Drive again, you'll see that there is now a testing copying files too. And then if I go to the parent of my drive and then go to this WiTCon test folder too, you'll see that the move file is there. And it's no longer on the drive that I was a while ago. So that's fun ways that you can move your and create files on your Google Drive. Okay. All right. Let's just save that for now, and then I'll be deleting this too to make room for later. All right. I'll pause here. Does anyone have any questions before we move on? Anyone got to follow? I'll give you a few minutes to copy the code if you would like to. Okay. Give it a minute more. Okay. Okay. So that's how we handled the Google Drive part of the application. You can see here for we already made the app script get files and then have access to files to our Google Drive. Now let's do the second part of our whole application, which is sending emails. So what we'll be doing is after we get the files, we'll send it to an email that we would like to access. Okay. So what we need to do here is learn what is a function, learn what is a scope, and what is an array. Okay, let's first discuss on what is a function. So a function is a type of code that you would like to be repeated or continuously repeat doing without typing the whole set of codes again. So for example, here, if you have a application that wants to sum up two numbers, you can just do a sum and then add them. Of course, you don't want to type in a plus every time. Or, of course, for smaller processes, you can do this, or you can just continuously write plus A plus B plus C, for example. But for really long processes, you would really want to put it in a function so that it's easier to call. Okay, so this is the name of the function, and then the next one is the parameter of what you're passing in to the function, or what the function will receive, and then the last one is what your function will return. Okay. Again, please use camel casing. So there's different types of functions. So the first type of function is what accepts any parameters and returns the output value. The second one is if you just want to return something. And then the last one is if you just wanted to do something. So the first one is if you want some sort of black box where you have an input and then you put it and you push it to an output. And then the second one is if you just want to get something from somewhere. And the last one, if you just wanted to do things. Okay. Okay, so enough of that. Let's actually go to the code and see how we can automate sending emails. So let's rename this function first as file manipulation. File manipulation. Okay. Save it and then just go to the end of the function, press enter twice so it moves down, and then let's just create a new function for sending emails so that we don't have to edit this out or change it, and then we still have access to it. So let's type in, remember the reserved keyword is function, and then let's do send email. You save it. And then if we go to if we now use the mail app or the reserved keyword for the mail app, it's like this. So we go mail app, and then we use the dot notation to check out what it can do, or what the mail app can do. Press dot. So as you can see, it only does two things: get the remaining daily quota and the one that we need, send email. So let's use that. And then let's do a parenthesis. Okay. Let's put a semicolon at the end. And then inside those two parentheses, please add curly braces. Okay. Now what this curly braces does is let us specify the properties of the email that we're going to send. So first, the first thing that, of course, that you would like to know is who you're sending the email to. So to, then add a semicolon, and then just add your email, for example. Okay. Next one is the subject. What's the title of this email? So for example, promotion. It's the promotion that I'm sending for my event. And then the last one is the body of the email. Body. Hi, this is an email for my event. Okay, let's save that. Oops, yeah. So this is what I was talking about a while ago. If you see this red squiggly line here, it means that you typed something wrong. So it says that it doesn't need the semicolon. So yes, save it. Okay, now we're ready. If I'll give you a minute to copy that, and then we'll be ready to send out the email. Okay. So let's send email here. So if you click here, you'll see the two different functions, the file manipulation and send email. This is what will be executed if you remember the short intro that we did for the IDE. So let's press send email and then press run. It will ask again for permissions because this time, instead of just accessing the Drive app, you're also trying to send an email. just repeat the whole process again. Just make sure also that if there's any pop-up blocker here, you authorize your app script to create pop-ups. Then you just allow, then it will execute the script that you do. Then if I go to my mail, go to my inbox. So you can see here that I've already received the email. So the sender will automatically be you, of course, for that email, and then you'll already see the email that I sent, or that I sent to myself, of course. If I want to send it to someone else, that's also okay. Yeah. So if also I want to send it to some other email, I can do that also. You can just type in the email the recipient here that you would like. Okay. So let's just keep it that for now. Copy it, but please don't send the email to me. Please send it to someone else. I will block you if you send it. If you want to run. So I'll give you another 2 minutes to copy the code. Okay. So I just wanted to check if anyone's followed for the email. You just can just react like a joy emoji. Joy emoji. Joy emoji. Anyone? So, okay. So cool. There are people following. I'm not. Hello. I was muted. Uh, yes.
Earon, we can
Yes.
see your entire screen.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So when I'm so confused. I thought I was sharing a window all this time. Oh, wait, sorry. Let me just stop sharing for a while. How do I stop sharing? Oops. Anyway, um, where was I? Okay, so if you've copied the code, let's proceed to the next topic that we uh, I would like to discuss. So as you can see, I wanted to talk a bit more on scope. So scope is where your variables or your functions get executed only. So on this specific example, you'll have you, you'll you'll only be able to execute the functions or the variables inside a specific curly braces. What this means is if you're, for example, going to your script, this two curly braces here only executes this send mail, and it will not execute this whole thing. As you can see, that's why, as you can see here, I only I can easily swap from send mail and file manipulation for your for your for your application. Okay, so that's what scope is. It just limits that you don't need to execute everything that you've written, that you can only execute, or you only want to execute the um, your application or the specific type of script that you're trying to access. Okay, let us now. So this is pretty cool, but I would like to also make sure that I don't have to type in the email that would be inputted. I would like to just automatically get the user of whoever is trying to access or run the script. So if you connect it to your form later, it will be the form, the user of the form. But if you're the one running the app script, it will be your email. So the syntax goes like this. So var, let's just say I'll name that variable user equals, and then you'll have to do session dot get active user. It will get the whoever is trying to access the form or the app script, and then get email. Save it. And then instead of typing in the user here manually, we automatically pass in the user. Okay. Next, the thing that we would want to do for this one is to send attachments for our promotion that we're trying to do. So let's do a we type in attachments. So then just type in this square braces, and then let's try to access the file that we're trying to do. So here on the dummy file, let's try to access that. So here, sorry, not dummy file. Let's copy the ID of the Google file. And then we'll do what we learned a while ago on Google Drive. So var attachment file equals the Drive app, and then get file by ID. Save it. And then the attachment file instead, we copy this and we go here on the attachments and then paste it. Oops, it's this one. Paste it. We press dot to see what's available. There is this method called getAs. Just copy this for now on the MIME type. Type.pdf. Okay. Oops. Again, I don't need the semicolon. Then save it for your application. Okay, so I'll give you a few minutes to copy that before we test out what it does. Oops, sorry. Okay, so let's run the send email code now, and let's see what happens. It will again ask you, because you're trying to access the session, it will ask you for another permission. The more things you add, the more it will request as permission every time. Okay, awesome. So the execution has completed, and if you go to your mail, oops. If you go to your mail, you'll see that it already sent the email for you, and then you'll see also that there's an attachment that was sent. Okay, so now we can easily send emails. Amazing. Okay, now what I want to discuss is a concept where, of course, you don't always just want to send one attachment, and you don't always want to send it to just one person. So there is a concept called arrays. Oh, let's skip that. So if this is array, this is array. So array is a set of data or objects arranged in a sequence. It's usually a group of data. So it's not just one specific data. It's like not like it's a group of data that you're trying to access. So how it's done is the square brackets that we were talking about a while ago. And how you separate the data is via commas, and then you just have to put the data into the array. If you go to your app script again, let's do that. So instead of the user, for example, so you can do this to the user. So instead of just sending it to one user, you can put square brackets, and then it will send it to this users, and then you can put commas there for the user. But what I want to focus on is sending multiple files. So let's get the second attachment file that we'll try to send for this one. So in the sample file, let's get the ID of this again. Oh, oops. Here. Okay. And then let's, instead of naming it attachment file one, attachment file, name it attachment file dummy. So at least I'll know what it is. And then let's do the same thing again here. So that we'll be sending two attachment files. So get as mime type.pdf. Okay, now save it. Then you run again. Oh, it doesn't allow a multiplier for email. Send it. Then let's go to attachments. And then if I go back to my email, you'll see, you'll see that it already attached two different files. So that's the purpose of arrays. You'll be able to send multiple files, or you'll be able to send multiple data for your application. Okay, so I'll again give you a few minutes to copy this, and then let's see, let's move on to automating it, that you will be able to do, automatically send it via your, via answering Google Drive. Okay. Okay, let's now take a few minute break. I'll leave the code on if you want to copy it, but let's take like a 5 minute break, just so we can refresh before we move on to what we need to do. Okay. Hello, everyone. So just please react. I don't know, kind of emoji. Any your favorite emoji if you're back. Awesome. Okay. So, so the next part of our workshop will be trying to automate the form. So remember, our whole use case was about using the Google Apps script to automatically send attachments and emails and promotions when someone signs up for a form. So that's what we'll be doing. So this is like the complete part of our uh, form automation that we will be doing. So what we need to learn here is just accessing the values of the array. But for this one, you won't need much code. So let's do the first step of creating the form that you would want to. So just create any form and name it whatever you want. So event form, and just add any questions you would like. Question. What, like, for example, name. You click the short answer and then press add question. And then type in like age, maybe. And then into the short answer. Okay. And then that's all. That's all that you would need to do for this one. And then what we would like to do is to if you remember on the first part, I said that there were two ways of creating an app script. One is to right click, press more, and then click on the app script here, Google App Script. Second one is to attach the script directly to your form. So what we've created so far is just a script that exists on its own. So what we want to do now is to attach the script to this specific form. So if you go to your top right corner, there are three dots there on more. Kindly press it. And then below, just before add-ons, there's a script editor. And then click on that. It should open another app script that you are working on. You can just name it whatever you'd like. Okay. All right. Then let's go back to the app script attached form. Attached to form. That it has a distinction. So now let's go to the previous app script we're working with, and then just copy the whole function of send email. We won't need this file manipulation function. We'll just copy the whole send email. So and then paste that there. Save it. Make sure that you save it. You should be able to press run and debug now. Let's run it one more time. Just to activate the permissions that you would need. So it will ask again for my permission. Okay. So once that's done, if you go back to your mail, oops, you'll see that it's successfully sent here. So just to make sure that we are triggering the correct app script, let's change this body here. Let's say, hi, this attachments are for your perusal. Save it, and then run the code again. Then let's go to the promotion or back to our emails. And as you can see, the body has now changed to that says, "Hi, these attachments are for your perusal." So that means we're triggering it from this script and not this script. So let's go ahead and close this now. You won't be needing it. Okay, now let's do a trigger, or what the form needs for us to be able to trigger the app script. So what we would need to do is click the alarm clock and then add a trigger from there. So that's what we'll do. From this one on your app script, we can go here. So instead of going to the editor, on your left corner, press triggers. And then let's create a new trigger. Let's select the function send email. If you have more than one, but if you copied what I did, it should just be one function, which is send email. And then let's do from the event source, from form. There's also time-driven calendar, but let's not do that. Let's do the form, and then let's do it on form submit. So when someone submits a form, we automatically trigger the email. And then for notification settings, just do it and notify me immediately, so that if your form does fail, it sends an email to you to say that, hey, your form failed. And let's save it. It should ask again for your permissions. See, as you can see, a lot of permissions. Okay, so once this is done, so that's already good. Let's go back to the editor. And then let's actually you won't need to run this. You'll need to go here to your form, and then just like how you would send a normal form, just copy the link, because I'm on editor mode, and then just open it. Let's try accessing or trying to send an email via the event form. So for example, I'm a user who's trying to access the event or trying to sign up for an event. So I'm gonna write my name, random name, and say I was 18 years old. Then I press submit. Okay, so if I did that correctly, I should now receive an email from that's how, oh, it failed. Let's see. You do not have permission. Oh, okay. To call active user on form submit. Interesting. But if I run this, will it execute properly? It does. Okay, so there's some permission error that we don't have access to on form submit. Not sure if it's let's see here. If you run into this same issue, you can just session active user. Why don't I have access? Let's try doing it again. That's interesting. Should have access permissions. Delete trigger. Delete forever. Add a filter. Add trigger. Send email from form. On submit. Notify me immediately. Did it ask for my permissions? No, that's weird. Project details. I'm just checking why my permission is not allowed. Okay, that should work. Let's just run it again here. Okay, interesting. Let's try to execute it again. Working page, some name. See if it fails or success. Okay, perfect. Oh no, it still failed. I don't have this on form submit. I do not have permission to call session active user. not is this PwC thing? Because I was working on my anyway. Let me just close this and let's try again the permission. It might be I'm trying to access settings. It's a quiz. Nope. We'll have script editor. It's not giving me the permission. Pretty sure if it's okay. Let's try it again. I'm pretty sure if this is the network that I'm in. Okay, save it. And then go to the apps editor again, and then just oops, it's this one. Nope. Send. Sending on. Okay, so I tested it out on my personal email. It should work if you don't have a network that's blocking you for the session. If you're using your personal email, it should work for the user that you're trying to access. But I think this is still gonna fail based on the uh, the permissions that I have. Yeah. Okay. I think it still failed for the trigger. I think yeah, PwC is not allowing me to access it. Okay, but we do have a workaround for this one. So I'm pretty. If you are using your own email or your personal email, this should work for getting the session of the active user and getting their email. You should be able to automatically email the whoever is accessing your form via this one. So if you haven't copied it yet, I'll give you a few minutes to copy the form. Oh, sorry, to copy the script. Sorry, I moved out. Okay. All right. Oops, accidentally closed my PowerPoint presentation. Mhm. All right. So that should already work for your forms. Uh, However, if you have the same issue as me that you can't access the session, we'll try to work. We'll be trying to do a workaround for this one using spreadsheets. So on spreadsheet, it starts off with an additional thing you would need to do. So instead of just using the form here, you would need to create a spreadsheet and then try to access the email from there. So what we'll be learning here is loops and conditionals. So on loops, or what are loops? So these are things that is an instruction that you want to continuously repeat. So if you, for example, want to just send an email or just check a specific email, we'll be trying to access or you can do loops. So this is what a basic syntax of a loop or what a basic syntax of loop looks like. So it has an initial value, a condition, and the next value. So here's an example for what a loop looks like. So if, for example, I want to sum these numbers of array, if you remember, you can just use this one and then access and continuously add it to your loops, which this will equate, of course, into 6. So first create the position and then the condition on when to stop, and then the next value that you would like to work on. Okay, so let's do that for the forms that we're doing. So here's our response. If you're familiar with forms, there is this way here that you will create a spreadsheet where it is continuously updated, and then it will automatically create all of the answers to your forms there. So if you create that, it should automatically create that spreadsheet. And as you can see, you can see the timestamp here, the name, and the age. The problem that we have here now is that I don't have the email of the user, which is why this is a workaround that we would need to do. So I'll need to add a email that we're sending here. So if add email and make it required so that users actually answer it, then there's a short answer, and then yeah. So let's do that. Uh, and then I'll make also all of the others required, just so it's I always have a value on the spreadsheet. Okay, so now let's send it to the here to the spreadsheet. Let's open the form. Oh, so here the new form that we added email. Okay, so now we have to input the email for this one. So let's type in the name. Again, let's type in my age and then the email that I want that the user is using. And then we submit. Okay, and then we submit, and then it should already reflect on this Excel sheet. As you can see, just to prove to you that it actually does get this Excel sheet. If you go to the app script, of course, or to my email, it will send me again that it has failed the trigger. Let me just edit the trigger to send immediately instead of daily if something fails. So it should already send me again a failed response. So let's not dwell on our failures, and let's try to make a workaround on this problem that we encountered. Okay, so now we would need to access the spreadsheet. So this line of code is now useless. So if I want you to go after the var, before the var, and just add two forward slashes, this will comment out the code, meaning it's still there, but it's not gonna be executed. So what we need now is to access the spreadsheet. Okay? So I'll change the user for now to my default, to my email. Okay, that's cool. And then we'll be adding the spreadsheet. So we'll try to access the spreadsheet. So var, I'm just gonna name it SS. And then instead of using session, we'll get the spreadsheet app. And then we get by, open by ID. Open by ID. Then let's copy. Remember what I told you before? It's between the two slashes, between this slash and this slash. That's the ID of the spreadsheet. Copy it, go back to your script, and then add the link. And then open by ID. And then what we would need to do is to get the values of that, the values within that spreadsheet. So I'll just show you how you can do that. So let's just say values. Let's create a variable equals to values. And then let's go spreadsheet, get active spreadsheet. Sorry, not get active spreadsheet. Oh yeah, it's going to be get active sheet. This will, get active sheet. Okay. This will, once it's opened, the spreadsheet, it will be open somewhere, and then you'll just get that automatically gets you that spreadsheet. Then let's do get data range. This will show you the range of the whole spreadsheet. So all of this, it will show you. And then let's do get values. I'll run this on debug mode so I can stop it before it actually sends an email. So I'll save this, and then let's run it on debug mode. It will ask a permission again for your spreadsheet. As you can see here, this is the new permission that it's asking. Okay, so if we open the values now, oops, my bad, I forgot, I missed something. There we go, save it, run on debug mode. Yeah, and then this will show you a bunch of values. As you can see, all of the values that the user has inputted there will already be there. So that's how you can access the values of the spreadsheet. So now, obviously, the last entry of this spreadsheet will be the email that we want to send it to. So we'll need to access that. So if you remember our array, we'll have to access that for that specific function. Let's just go on to the position of the arrays on what it does. So arrays start in a position of 0. So if I want to access, for example, Apple, I would need to access position 0, and then second one is position 1, and then second 2 is position 2. So it's going to be 0, 1, 2. It's not going to be 1, 2, 3. It always starts at 0. So for example, the first fruit here will be fruit 0, and then second fruit is fruit 1, and then third fruit is fruit 2. Okay. Let us sink in for a while, because that's what we'll be doing to access the data. So now what we want to get is the email that we're trying to access, or the user that we're trying to access. And then from the values, let's just get the last value here that we're trying to access. So this copy for now, because this will show this length, values that length will give you the how long a array is, and then let's just subtract it with 1. And then I'll be trying to access the 0, 1, 2, 3, third part of the answer. So let me just copy that for now for the user. And this should already give us the proper user that we would like to send the email to by using spreadsheets, and then save it. I'll give you a few minutes to copy that line of code. So I'm just trying to access the last part of the email of the spreadsheet here. And I can send it to the email. Of course, if they give you an invalid email, they won't receive the promotion that you're trying to send. All right. So let's test this out if it actually solves our problem. Let's submit another response. So my name, and some age. Okay, I'm 60 years old. And then I'll send an email, and submit. See if I actually received that email properly. Perfect. So now it solves our problem. So now I can dynamically check who the user is who answered the form or what email he or she submits, and then there would be an attachment that will be sent to that specific user. Amazing. Okay. Now let's do a random check on conditionals. Just one last concept before we end. This is a bit of a supplementary. So on conditionals, these are the ways you can control the program flow. On this evaluate if like value is if for example if you want to check if it's true or false or not, and then if you want to control the program flow, and then just evaluate if you, for example, if you want to trigger something or not trigger something, you can do that. So these are two different types of conditionals, if else and switch. We'll be mostly talking about the if statement. Sorry, the if else conditional. So on the if else conditional, it checks if a is equal to 2, and then if yes, true, it subtracts from a. Else, or if the value of a is not 2, we execute the code below. Okay, that's the simple concept of conditionals, and we'll be trying to leverage that for our automated form. So if you go to the event form, let's add one more thing that they would need to answer. Oops. Oops. So instead, right after email, I want them to ask a question. I wanted to ask a question if would you like to receive promotional materials? Then let's just say there's no checkbox. So yeah, okay. So let's just make that required, and then let's try to open the form. See what happens. Okay. So, oh, sorry, I should add an yes and no option. Yes, then add an option that is no. Okay, save, and then let's do that again. Right. So there's a yes and no question here, and then let's try to check what it does to our app script. So after checking on the user, I would also need to check on the if the yes or no question, if I want to send the email or not. So let's try to answer first to show you how it would look like. So name, suppose I don't know, 33. Then I'll send it to my email. Then let's say I want to receive a promotional materials, which is, oh wait, it will it it will not check box. I want it's multiple choice. Okay, they might be able to check both. Okay, so anyway, so as you can see here, you'll see that will I be able to check if they do want to receive promotional materials or not. Okay, so let's go to the app script. So I'll run again debug mode so that we don't need to send the email. I just want to check the data that we're trying to access on the values. So save it for now, and then let's run on debug. Yeah, so if we go to the values on the last one, there is uh, number 4 here that they want to access. So remember, we were trying to access number 3 a while ago here for their email. So number 4 is either a yes or a no. So let's try it again the with the multiple choice now. So name, 5, email again, then let's answer no. So that's cool. And then I'll stop this, stop and rerun again to check what the values are for the array. So you can see now I can see no on 4 instead of yes. Uh, so that's what I would like to check, right? So var um, answer, also answer, sorry, promotional question, promotional receipt. Sorry. To yes. So we'll only send the email if they're trying to, if they want to receive the promotional material. Of course, you can opt not to not to give them a choice. That's also possible. So we save it, and then we go into the form again. As you can see, since I've been answering the questions, it has been sending me emails. I'll submit another response. So, hello, hello, and then age 71, and again, same email. And then let's try first if it's working if I submit a promotional material to CS. Let's see if I'll receive the email. Seems like I'm not receiving. Oh, okay, perfect. So it did send me the email. So if I submitted yes, I received the email. And then if we try to submit again, then you'd like to receive promotional materials. Let's go with no and then submit. Well, we can wait forever, but if it worked properly, it shouldn't receive the email from this one. Awesome. So now it works. I have this interesting script that allows me to send attachments. Of course, you can edit the body if you would like to. So, for example, if we now try to access the name of so to make it more personal, name, and then I forgot what index it was. Let's try again running on debug mode to check what the index the name is. So as you can see, the name here is 1. So let's stop that. So I'll be accessing 1. So name. So let's try to change this. Now let's do a backtick instead of using a normal quotation. A backtick, it's beside your 1 keyboard, or sorry, the number 1 on your keyboard, and then hi, and then this one hi. This will allow you to access the name. So hi, and then you add a $sign, and then the curly braces, and then you add the name to your to this email. Hi, and then add the comma. Hi name. These attachments are for perusal. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and then let's save it. And then let's try answering the form again, if it works properly. So random person, then 81 years old, then, of course, I want to receive to test it, then submit. Let's see if that executed properly. Okay, so as you can see, the email is now more personalized. So, hi, random person. These are the attachments for your perusal. Thank you. Well, it is a bit off. I would need to format that. For, I think it's reading the space. So now it's more personalized for the application. So now you can send the email via the name of the person who sent it and the email. Again, you can act. Of course, if you're using personal email or your personal account that allows the session, you can actually get the name of the value of the merchant. Can you get the what can you get from get user session user get user get get I guess you can't the name of the person, just the email. That's cool. All right. So I'll give you, I guess, a few minutes to copy the code if you would like to save it. Right. So that ends our Google App Script demo or Google App Script workshop. So my advice just for the next few parts, if you do want to apply some few skills, you can actually put in HTML and CSS if you're familiar with that to your Google App Scripts to make the body that you send an email a bit faster. Then there's a lot more parts that you can go on their official website. So if you just Google App Script, it will show you a lot of things that you can do for different types of Google or G Suite applications, such as documents, spreadsheets, PowerPoint, etc. And then to learn more, there's of course a lot more things that's over there in the link. So just go to this one, the developers.google.com app script overview, if you would like to access or to learn more on your own for the Google App Script. There's an infinite way or infinite use case that you can use for your Google App Script to create things. And I hope you give it a try, because it's a really, really fun way of making things quicker and not doing menial stuff. All right. I know we were supposed to end at 4:50, but I know this has been a mentally, I hope, mentally challenging and draining session and workshop. So let's end it here. Thank you for listening and